We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do us well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. Do not forget to ring the notification bell. If you want to support this independent national rebel outpost for college football sickos with a donation to help us keep the lights on and grow the channel, just hit that $ where you make your comment and I will get you super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. Woo, boy. Now, within a minute, we are the press conference is going to begin. The commissioner, Greg Sankey, is going to come out and do a press conference. We will cover that through the reporting, through X. We'll hit and miss on that. Scamming, yes, no breakaway according to the SEC Network and Paul Feinbaum. I would like to know what they consider a breakaway, because let's start out, because one man's breakaway is not another man's breakaway. Let me just show you top it off here. Let me just show you a few comments. Brett McMurphy, Georgia President Moorhead. on state of college athletics. We're close. I don't know why I'm laughing. Why am I laughing? I should not be laughing. Shame on me. Shame on me. Georgia President Mohr on the state of college athletics. We're close to anarchy. Some people's breakaway is not other people's breakaway. Some people's anarchy is other people's DEFCON 1. President Mohr, we're close to anarchy. Time is running out on us. What have we accomplished in the last year? Nothing. Absolutely no progress. I'd say we're in a worse position than we were a year ago, and that is concerning to me. And then we've got a comment here from Texas A&M Athletic Director Trev Alberts once again. Brett McMurphy on 3, Texas A&M Athletic Director Trev Alberts. Do we want to be governed or not? College athletics is sending a strong message. We don't want to be governed. And then we're going to hit the Kirby Smart comment here. Kirby Smart is like, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to be a PATC legend. I'm not afraid of an SEC breakaway. I'm not afraid of this. We just break away, not only in football, but for all sports. Holy smokes. And then, breaking news, breaking news, breaking news, breaking news, everybody. Ross Dellinger broke the news a few minutes before we came on live here. Ladies and gentlemen, with issues abound, is collective bargaining a viable solution for college sports? I never thought I'd say it, but I'm there on employment. That, my friends, is coming out of the SEC tonight. That, my friends, is coming out of the Southeastern Conference tonight. A growing, okay, if you do not want to call it support, I'm fine with that. But there is a clear reporting going on from Ross Dellinger, the SEC and the Big Ten, socializing collective bargaining. The Big Ten did it last week. The Southeastern Conference is doing it this week. I want to start with that just for a moment here. Just for a moment, I want to start with that. The very first episode I ever did here at College Football Peek Around the Corner, the very first episode, I think it was August 10th, 2022. And I did not know what I was doing, and I still don't know what I'm doing, which is obvious to you all. The very first live show episode, I think it was whatever, it was the PATC manifesto, the College Football Peek Around the Corner, that I believe we had to go to a CBA, collective bargaining, to reach a collective bargaining agreement with the labor in the conferences. For the last 4 years, I've completely lost hope on that, because I don't think we can. I know we can't pull it off. Not the way we are now. Plus, and I'm going to get some of you upset with me, but the labor, there's a lot of issues with it. Lots of issues with it. Number one, the schools don't want their student athletes to become employees. Number two, a lot of student athletes do not want to become employees. Number three, it's a very difficult workforce to engineer around representation, around unions. I mean, your 18 to 23-year-olds is your basic core They're in, they're out. Plus, there's a lot of states that don't let their public employees become unionized or to have them be collective bargain. There is a lot, and this is not the NFL, this is not the NBA. There's a whole bunch of different sports wrapped up in these athletic departments. You've got some student athletes playing more than one sport. You've got some sports that make millions and millions and millions of dollars. You got other sports that do not. You got Title IX. You've got academic requirements. You got the fact that these student athletes are never going to get drafted. That's out of the collective bargain. It is a very complicated endeavor. However, the Big Ten and the SEC are socializing this. We're going to go through the report from Ross Dellinger. And hey, Ricky Tungate, look at that. It is Zero Coke Cherry. It's exactly what I'm drinking. Thank you, Ricky Tungate. I will get to your generosity in a moment here. Thank you, Ricky Tungate. I'm going to properly thank you in a moment, sir. It doesn't take much to get me off my thinking here. I'm just going to be blunt. I'm going to be blunt. It is a bittersweet type of show that I'm doing tonight. Bittersweet. It's a dangerous situation that we're in. Look, they're socializing the collective bargain. And I think some of it with good intentions. And I think it's going to be difficult to pull off. And again, as we go through the article, there are people who are saying collective bargaining doesn't work unless it comes from labor. But whatever, there's a lot of hurdles to it. But let's not get it twisted. There's one big old elephant in the room on why they're thinking about collective bargaining. First of all, the costs, there is no cost certainty anymore. Everything's about to go bankrupt. There's reports today in the Ross Dellinger article that people in the SEC are considering that basketball is no longer a profitable endeavor because of the skyrocketing cost of labor. There's another reason why they're thinking of this, though. There's another reason why they think they could possibly pull it off. Remember, the Southeastern Conference doesn't trust anybody. The Big Ten doesn't trust anybody. The Big 12, nobody trusts each other. The reason why they're socializing the CBA, and it's a bittersweet moment because I think a lot of good can come from this for the student athlete and for the university and for the conferences. But the big reason why they're socializing this at this point in time is because they're about to break away. I mean, that's it. The Southeastern Conference socializing the CBA, socializing governing themselves, socializing making their own rules. If they go forward with a CBA, at least go down the road, they're not going to do it. They're going to do it on their own. Obviously, right? So is the Big Ten. So we're looking at a college sports world. I mean, we have been through so much changes together, right? Since we've opened up this show, I mean, we cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. We do a live show almost every single day 365 days of the year, and we're barely keeping up with the changes. All of this makes everything we've done over the last 5 years look like nothing. And I'm gonna say this. It's a bittersweet time here because, again, I've been a supporter of going into collective bargaining, but being realistic, I believe that it is unbelievably complicated. Like, way more complicated than an NBA, an NFL. This is like way more complicated. But now that we're talking about conference governance, and we're talking about a CBA, a collective bargaining agreement between the labor of football and the football conference, the basketball labor and the basketball conference, now you can understand. Now you can understand why the SEC is talking about it, because they think they can possibly actually get it done. Same thing with the Big Ten. The bittersweet part of this is going to cement, if we go breakaway, it looks like we are, it's going to be cemented. If a CBA happens, it's going to be cemented. And I do think that there is going to be a growing gap of advantages for the SEC and the Big Ten versus everybody else. I think in a collective bargain between labor and the conference, the SECs, if they do it, if they can pull it off, the final collective bargaining agreement within the SEC is going to look a lot different than the final result of a collective bargaining agreement within the ACC, if this happens, for example. But again, the question remains, why would labor even want a collective bargaining agreement at this point? What are they going to get out of it? Possibly more insurance. There are certain things they could get out of the bargaining agreement. But man, they are getting everything they could possibly want and more, especially the top 1 or 2 percentile. And if you go in a collective bargaining, if you get a collective bargaining agreement, a lot of that NIL money is going to go away, just like it is in the NFL and the NBA. But we're going to talk about it tonight. Major breaking news. Major breaking news. SEC, the Big Ten, socializing collective bargaining. Well, oh well. Well, oh well, oh well. We've got breaking news. Thank you, Buckeye Greg. Holy smokes. Breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. Ross Dellinger, breaking news. The Southeastern Conference Athletic Directors have voted to play a conference football game on the second to last weekend of the regular season. For so long, the SEC played non-conference games against lower-level programs that weekend. That's the end of the cupcake weekend, Greg Sankey said. So that is one big breaking news coming out of the press conference this evening. Thank you, Buckeye Greg. I appreciate it. My, oh, my. My, oh my, the SEC is changing right before our eyes. Wow. Wow. Okay, we got a lot. We got a lot to get through. Again, Greg Sankey is having his press conference right now, and we've got Ricky Tungate, the Indiana Hoosiers, starting us off. Super chat. Ricky Tungate, $20 holla. Help with the zero cherry Coke. Thank you, Ricky. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it so very much. I need all the help I can get. I need all the help I can get to get through these live shows. Oh my goodness, I just spilled. Hold on, everybody. Hold on. We're okay. Just a little spillage. Just a little spillage of this very important diet cherry Coke. Hopefully the little general did not hear that or did not see that. All right. We need to get Greg a sippy cup. Absolutely. Wendy is joining us. Her interest is piqued. Oh boy. Kenneth Manor, SEC making moves. Great things. Sweet. More breaking news. SEC is finally growing a pair. The Southeastern Conference is going to 9 conference games. The Southeastern Conference is getting rid of their cupcake game second to the last week of the season. The Southeastern Conference is starting to socialize collective bargaining. The Southeastern Conference, some voices in the Southeastern Conference. Some voices in the Southeastern Conference socializing collective bargaining. Edward, the Auburn Tiger, is in the house. The SEC is leading the way. The SEC is in the catbird seat with ESPN. Mega early media negotiations happening now in conjunction with the silo move. My goodness. Don Scruggs is saying, Edward, the Auburn Tiger, you're the man. You are the man. Greg reminds me of Hank Hill. That's not the first time I have heard that. I've also reminded people of Elvis Presley. Let's just be honest. The older version. The Elvis Presley right before he kicked the bucket. That version. Woo! Yeah, we're going to talk about Kirby Smart in a moment here. Going to talk about Kirby Smart in a moment. Let's get to it here. Kenneth Manor, a member now for 14 months. Holy smokes. Kenneth Manor, you are hereby knighted, cloak, and dagger. The ECU Pirates says the SEC got rid of their cupcakes. Now the Big Ten can get rid of their MAC cupcakes. The SEC is not getting rid of their cupcakes. They're getting rid of the cupcake second to the last week of the season. They're still going to have their cupcakes at the beginning of the season. And so is the Big Ten, unless Mr. Manor, unless they go into their extreme silos and, do 11 or 12 conference games. But other than that, they're still going to have their cupcakes, but they're going to eat their cupcakes before dinner, before the conference schedule arrives. Thank you, Kenneth Manor. Thank you for becoming a member for 14 months. I appreciate it, sir. I appreciate you. All right. Let's get to it. No, Greg, you're not the king. There's been rumors, ones that I created. There's been rumors, Skaven, yes. Look at the date of when Elvis Presley's daughter was born. Look at the date when I was born. Could Elvis Presley and his wife not wanting to put pressure on their young twin son, put him up for adoption, and he was adopted in the spring of 1968 to a family in Minnesota. I'm just going to bring that up. Okay. There will be no 2014 playoffs. I don't know about that. Edward, the Auburn Tiger. Okay, let's get to Kirby Smart. Let's get to what Kirby Smart said, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, speaking of what Edward the Auburn Tiger is saying, look what the athletic directors of the SEC want. 8 out of the 14 that voted wanted a 2014 playoff. One Southeastern Conference athletic director wanted a 20-team playoff. 4 wanted a 16-team playoff. 1 wanted a 12-team playoff. Over 50% of who voted and 50% of all the athletic directors want a 2014 playoff. And again, for those who want a 16-team playoff, which is only 4 out of 16, 4 out of the 14 of the athletic directors in the Southeastern Conference. Do you know why there's not that much support for Greg Sankey's 16-team college football playoffs in his own conference among athletic directors? Do you know why there's not much support for that? 1, the SEC went to 9 conference games. There's going to be a lot more losses. They're afraid that they're going to eliminate themselves. As the SEC, the talking heads talk about how there should not be any 8-4 teams that make the playoffs. There's going to be really good SEC teams that are going to be exactly 8-4, 9-3. But that's not the only reason why the majority are against a 16-team playoff in the SEC among the athletic directors. The reason why it doesn't work, because it does not recoup the losses of eliminating the Southeastern Conference championship game. It does not recoup the losses. It is called math, and the athletic directors are interested in the math. The 16-team playoff does not work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And these athletic directors, these coaches, they want to get rid of the conference championship game. So there's only one solution, baby. There is only one solution. A 24-team college football playoff. But let's listen to what Kirby Smart said. Today out of the SEC meetings. Georgia's Kirby Smart on the future of college football SEC. I'm not afraid to break away. I'm not afraid to break away. Kirby Smart, in line with the Georgia president, in line with the Georgia athletic director, I'm not afraid to break away. Destin, Florida. Georgia head coach Kirby Smart is not running away from saying the quiet part out loud. Entering the SEC meetings this week, discussions about the possibility of self-governance were expected. The option is becoming a popular topic with a lack of success in Washington, D.C. Similar conversations were held last week among Big Ten leaders. Smart has become a leading voice among SEC coaches and addressed the possibility of self-governance head-on Tuesday. Kirby Smart, Ross Dellinger, this is Pete Knuckles on 3. Smart has become the leading voice among SEC coaches. Kirby Smart is not afraid of a breakaway. But there is more to this. There is more to this. I've said this for a long time to our president. I've been a huge advocate, Kirby Smart, that if we can't find rules that everybody plays by, then we should play on our own. I've been a huge advocate that if we can't find the rules that everybody plays by, then we should play on our own. Smart told reporters, I'm not afraid of that. I'm not afraid to break away and say that our confidence is strong enough to go out and play. Play on our own. Play our own. That's not all. That's not all. Listen to this. If we could actually function financially, it would make our programs more stable. We could support things financially. I'm talking about all the sports and do our own rules. I'd be all for that. Not just football. Kirby Smart is not just talking football. He's talking every sport. Everything out there. Everything out there. Kirby Smart is not afraid to break away from the NCAA and everybody else. The lone hope for congressional legislation now sits with the Senate. Cruz and Cantwell have been negotiating the final stage of the bipartisan legislation for more than a week. And while it is the best chance for the NCAA and the Power Conference, the Senate is working on a deadline. The odds of any legislation moving forward after the summer recess in August are slim, with midterms around the corner. Kirby Smart, not afraid to break away. And he's talking about all sports, not just football. Now let's get to the massive breaking news before we came on live. Before we came on live, the SEC and the Big Ten socializing collective bargaining. Give me 1 minute here. 1 second. Ross Dellinger just said the following, just reported the following. The state of the CSC, the College Sports Commission, is accelerating the bargaining talk. Millions in NIL that schools, mostly SEC and the Big Ten, promise to athletes go unapproved. While the Big 12 and the ACC are against the so-called amnesty, one idea is exempting NIL deals with a certain scope of the CSC's range of compensation. So what is going on with the College Sports Commission and everything else is accelerating the bargaining talk. Now, let's get to the bargaining talk. Again, breaking news right before we came on. We're not going to go through the whole article here. We're not going to go through the whole article. With issues abound, is collective bargaining a viable solution for college sports? I never thought I'd say it, but I'm there on employment. This is within the SEC. Ross Dellinger, Yahoo Sports. Again, this article just published right before we came on. Miramar Beach last week near the steps of the U.S. Capitol, a scene unfolded that encapsulated the troublesome predicament in which college finds itself, college athletics. Flanked by the leaders of the Players Association, President of NCAA, members of the Congressional Black Caucus, a college football player spoke in a microphone to deliver a message. It's important that people hear what the athletes have to say. It's important that we push for player representation in some kind of player union that gets us what we deserve. Now, let's see here. The message schools should deem athletes employees and bargain with them is beginning to gain traction at the highest levels of the industry, including within the Southeastern Conference and its powerful group of university presidents, chancellors, and athletic directors. I never thought I'd say it, but I'm there on unemployment. One of those SEC presidents told Yahoo Sports recently, let's collectively bargain. While the playoff expansion discussions draw the fan interest, more pressing issues are at hand. Combined with millions to spend on coaching and administrative salaries, rising roster compensation amounts have thrust athletic departments into the red. Universities, some of them already crippled financially considering the enrollment cliff, are using general funds to fill athletic budgetary holes, and costs are only expected to get higher. At the center of the discussions, here is how to slow the escalating pace of roster values and bring long-term stability to the system. Outside of congressional legislation, there is but one real solution. There is a construct in the current law of the country that would work well for college sports. Tennessee Athletic Director Danny White told Yahoo Sports, it's called collective bargaining. Danny White is no longer on an island when discussing being a proponent of athletic bargaining. Within SEC administrative rooms, the topic of collective bargaining has turned from a long shot discussion to full-blown presentations. That, my friends, that is the PATC money shot of the article. Long shot discussions to full-blown presentations. Momentum is growing enough that the SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey and his conference staff, in an effort to prepare membership, have engaged outside counsel on the aspects of employment and bargaining. So they've already started to do the work, along with their silo work, right? Just earlier this month, in fact, executives saw modeling of a bargaining framework and discussion on its expected this week, even if it is preliminary in nature. The conference isn't alone. Once again, the Big Ten is doing a parallel track with the SEC. The Big Ten presidents and chancellors received an employment presentation last week during their meetings during Los Angeles. Some in the Big 12 and ACC officials have been studying the issue too. And that is why we got the SEC and the Big Ten socializing collective bargaining. Lost in the fodder of the SEC's continued exploration into self-governance model, an idea to create its own rules and enforcement, is that such a move may open a path to eventually bargain with athletes. Now, I'm going to stop right there. Well, let me go to another paragraph. For some, an NCAA breakaway is necessary to achieve a bargaining structure directly from the league itself or through a third-party entity created a bargain on behalf of football and men's basketball players. The concept had been socialized by White and his chancellor, Donde Plowman, the chair of the SEC presidents. Let me just stop right there. We don't really have to go through any more of that breaking news article, Ross Dillinger. Let's go through the bullet points as we know them. The Big Ten had presentation, talked about it last week. The SEC is starting to socialize it. They had presentations, they're going to be having them this week. They've had people come in and show them what it would take for employment and bargaining between labor and the conference. Both the Big Ten and the SEC, and I would have to agree, the only way they're going to be able to do this if they break away from the NCAA, if they go on their own. Because doing it on their own is going to be complicated enough. To get everybody on the same board with collective bargaining, you're just not going to be able to do it. So again, this is even more fuel to the fire of a breakaway. This is even more gas on the fire of a breakaway. Because the South, I'm just going to give this example. The Southeastern Conference, I doubt there will be a salary cap. If there is not a salary cap, there is really no reason for there to be a collective bargaining from the conference standpoint. Because what are they actually getting out of it? The reason why they want to collective bargain with labor is so they can have some cost certainty. Because it is bankrupting these athletic departments. The question is, should labor even want this collective bargain? What are they getting out of it? If there's not going to be a salary cap or a bird rule, like a soft cap. But anyways, back to what we're saying. If there is some sort of representation for the Southeastern Conference football players, for example, they're going to want their own representation. They don't want the same representation that the SEC basketball players are going to get. They don't want the same representation that the ACC football players are going to get. They're not going to want the same representation as the Big 12 football players are going to get. Because the SEC football generates more money. Therefore, the labor should be getting more money. Therefore, the cap, if there is a cap, a soft cap, a bird rule, should be higher than the ACC and the Big 12. So, again, breaking away from the NCAA, in my opinion, is a prerequisite for getting a CBA done. For at least to go into some collective bargaining with some representation of labor. This is massive, massive, massive news. This is a change. Not only that, if you go into a collective bargain, and we're just going to use, we'll use the Big Ten, for example. You go into a collective bargain with the football players. You see how much money that the conference makes. You add up all the benefits of the football players. By the way, if this would happen, a lot of their educational benefits will probably be taxed. So, I'm just saying, these athletes are going to they're going to be taxed. But if they go into this, and if there's a number, like 50% of all the revenue goes to the labor, and it's like a 6-year deal, well, you know what happens then, right? Just like in the NBA, just like in the NFL, just like anywhere else, the owners of the sport, they try to create more and more revenue. I mean, they really try to create more and more revenue because they have a cost certainty. So again, the one huge question that I want asked, and I have yet to see this question asked and answered. In the Big Ten, if this leads to the Southeastern Conference playing 10 conference games and the Big Ten playing 10 conference games, eventually, within a silo, within the collective bargaining agreement, my goodness, the changes in college football are going to be immense. And then, of course, we got to look at one more thing here. We are going to go to your phone calls earlier than normal tonight. We're not doing a I do have one ready to go, but we're not going to do a spotlight on a team tonight. And we might not do one tomorrow, depending on all the information that is coming out of the SEC meetings. But this is all really drastic movement, drastic changes here, potential drastic changes. You're talking about, you have a Georgia president that is saying we're close to anarchy. You have a Georgia head coach that is saying we're not afraid of we're not afraid of a breakaway of all sports. You've got people coming, you've got a presentation of a possible collective bargaining within the SEC. They're lining it up. They're going to bet on themselves. The Big Ten is going to bet on themselves. The ACC and the Big 12 are going to have to bet on themselves and somehow keep up. I don't know if the SEC pulls this off. For example, I don't know what the ACC does. I mean, we're months and months away from this, but I do not know how Miami and a Florida State and a Clemson, I do not know how they don't go to Birmingham, Alabama, and just the pressure in the ACC is going to be absolutely lit. That is why Phillips is saying we need federal help now. Phillips does not want these conferences to go in their silo. They do not want to go in their silos. But it's not just the ACC. It's not just the ACC. Again, we got to talk a few minutes about the Irish. I don't know what they do in this world. I don't know how that would work. A private university, South Bend, bargaining with one team. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they're going to be able to keep going on the way they're going on. Drastic changes are happening, ladies and gentlemen. We do not know the ramifications of this is endless. And no, I do not believe there's going to be some sort of Big Ten, and I could be wrong, of course I could be wrong, but I don't think the Big Ten and the SEC are going to go in on any collective bargain together. I think that defeats the purpose of what they're trying to do. So the Big Ten collective bargain, if they do it, and the SEC collective bargain, if they do it within football, those results are probably going to look different from each other. When you're bargaining, it's about the representation of labor and the representation of the conference, and the results are going to be different. And that's going to be dangerous onto its own. And if you have different rules, different ways of enforcement, you can understand why the Big Ten is open to playing each other more. The SEC is open to playing each other more. You can understand why these conferences, if they ever get it together, if they ever figure out what they're going to try to figure out, you can understand why the Southeastern Conference would thirst for more expansion. Same thing with the Big Ten. They already do thirst for it. But everything is so cost uncertain right now. Nobody knows the landscape. Nobody knows the college football playoff format. And there we have it. I'm going to go to your phone calls. I am going to go to your phone calls. It is It is Buffalo fan, a Bulls fan. Yeah, maybe this is why the Florida State athletic director meant when he expected major realignment in the next 24 months. Look at Florida State. Just take Florida State, for example. One school, one athletic department, major investment in football, major investment in buying that hospital, major investment in their facilities. Doak Stadium, they're priming the pump to try to get to the P2. Do you think that, again, this is a big if. It's still a big if. It's just a smaller big if than it's ever been, okay? But if the Southeastern Conference breaks away, and that's not a big if, but if they if they figure out a collective bargain, if labor wants it, if they are able to do it, I'm trying to be honest here. The benefits to the athletes, the ACC is not going to be able to match that. You can say, no, look, the ACC can say, oh, this is what the SEC and the labor, this is what they bargained. Okay, we'll match that. I mean, they can do that. They can go ahead and do that if they want to do that. But remember, when you're negotiating as a conference, you're negotiating all the schools in the conference. Like everybody's involved in that. All the metrics, all the numbers are involved in that. So yes, I mean, the Buckeyes are always going to have more resources than Rutgers, right? Penn State's always going to have more resources than Minnesota. But it's going to take all the school, all the teams, and all the money, all that media money, and there's going to be a certain percentage bargain either way. The people who are going to represent the ACC conference in that collective bargain, they're really going to match the SEC's numbers. If they do that, they're not doing the schools any favors. But on the other hand, if they don't match what the SEC and the Big Ten does, then that's going to hamstrung Florida State, Clemson, Miami. It is. Because there's going to be a certain cap. If there are caps, and there probably will be caps. So many ways to take this, ladies and gentlemen. I think going in their own silos is going to be a lot of fuel for further expansion. Going into their silos and talking about a collective bargaining agreement may pause the expansion, but it's probably going to make it more certain in the future. Because there's going to be some cost certainty if they do it in the way that I think they're going to do it. Let's get to your phone calls. Ladies and gentlemen. First of all, we got some... Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. Let me, it's going to take a second here to get the phone lines up. So, massive news. First day of the SEC spring meetings. The SEC and the Big Ten are socializing the possibility of collective bargaining. But there is a lot of hurdles in front of them to be able to pull that off. Let's get to your phone calls. The phone lines are open. 763-260-1366. 1333. 763-260-1333.
From
Rick?
Rick, the floor is yours.
Hi, Greg. It's come down to this. I guess the first question is, were you aware of what the Big Ten was doing last week?
No.
Just
Nope.
not a single leak. No leaks.
Nope. No one told me anything about them socializing, having presentations about collective bargaining. Nope.
But it got out today.
It got out today. Yeah, it got out today. It didn't even get out last week.
Right?
I think they wanted to keep that on the down low, but it got out.
It'll all work out. It'll be okay. When the NFL collectively bargains, it changes every year or two to meet the needs of owners and labor.
Yeah.
They decided to move games to Europe. That's collectively bargained. They moved from 16 games per year to 17. Collectively bargained.
Mm-hmm.
It's no big deal. And yes, there will be differences between the SEC's and Big Ten's collective bargaining agreement, but I think they'll be nominal, the differences. It may take a couple of years, but they'll get really, really close to one another. And they'll both have a provision to break out of their conference game and play a game outside of it. And it'll be governed, that game between the Big Ten and the SEC
Yep.
will be governed by a separate entity that they'll be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
The separate entity we now call the playoffs.
Yep.
But it won't be all together. The conference, SEC conference, the Big Ten conference, and the playoff will not all be under the umbrella of the NCAA, nor will it be under the umbrella of, Acme.
Yeah.
There'll be separate umbrellas covering all three. Yeah.
Yeah.
As for the ACC and the Big 12, you know what's going to happen. They're going to become G6 and G7, G8. And they'll probably stay in the NCAA and have scholarships and, maybe give out money up to, a few grand a year for your sports or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm definitely not gonna dispute you because you can see it. You can definitely see it developing that way. Now there are going to be, there's a very good chance that whatever happens in the next wave of realignment, that the Big 12 is still going to be, you're going to look at the gap between the Big 12 and the other conferences, not named SEC and the Big 10. There's probably going to be a huge gap, right? And if you look at the gap between the ACC and the other conferences, so I don't want to lump them all together. Definitely do not want to do that. But I
just think some of the talent will float up from the G6 into the ACC and the Big 12.
Yeah.
And some of the talent in the Big 12 and the ACC will be relegated to the G6. So they'll be the superpower within
Yeah.
that type of college football.
Yeah.
They'll be
Yeah.
the big kids on the block, but their block won't be national. It'll probably be regional or something.
Yeah. Boy, I do not want that to happen, but it's
Well, some would say it had to come, and that was decided in Austin.
yeah.
It had to come.
Yeah, that Austin case and the Ivy League school case. I mean, these conferences are going to get more. They're going to control their own destiny more than ever. They're going to be more powerful than ever, and the result is they're going to separate from each other, and they're going to be bigger gaps. The NCAA is not going to fill the gaps anymore. It's just
Best of all, the lawsuits will stop. The Players Association and the NFL, they don't sue one another.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just settle it.
Yeah.
They settle it or they go on strike.
Yeah.
They don't go to court. So all this messy court crap it'll all come to an end.
Yeah.
So you have that to look forward to. But you knew this when the Austin came out in 2020, and they've been kicking the can down the road, but it can't be kicked any further. They're at the end of the alley.
Yeah. You're correct.
Thanks for taking the call.
You got it, buddy. Appreciate it. Phone lines are open early today, guys. I want to hear from you. Big, big, big first day of SCC meetings.
Call from
Tristan 5.
Tristan, can you hold on for just a moment, please?
Yes, I can.
We got a very generous super chat from the ECU Pirate, Kenneth Mohr. Kenneth Mohr, the ACC generated a record $826.5 million in total revenue for the 2025 fiscal year, marking a 16% increase, $215 million more than the Big 12. Need to give Phillips credit when it is deserved. Okay, yeah, I will give Phillips credit for that. You are correct, Kenneth Mohr. I'm using the word bittersweet a little bit tonight. Quite a bit tonight. Even that is bittersweet. Because, yeah, the ACC is outpacing the Big 12 right now. And the Big 12 numbers are going to change next year because they've had some changes that are going to be shown next spring. But, again, a lot of that generated money, and it's all money, it's still all money, came from the fact that SMU came into the conference. ESPN had to pay a pro rata. ACC took advantage of that. And SMU came into the conference and says, we're not taking any of our tier one media money. Stanford and California, taking 30 cents on the dollar. So that also increased, that of course increased getting paid pro rata. So all of that money is still getting paid by ESPN, but is filtering through all the ACC schools and the conference. Now, the Big Ten does the same thing. Washington and Oregon are getting paid only 50 cents on the dollar. So it's not like the ACC is doing anything different. But again, that's where a lot of the money generation, the money came through because that happened a couple of years ago. I say it's bittersweet. I say it's bittersweet because there are schools that that voted against expansion. They voted against this extra. They knew that the ACC was going to generate more. They knew that SMU, they knew they had a really good knowledge of the fact that negotiations were going to go on, SMU not taking in, but they voted against the expansion. Who were they? Who are the schools that voted against expansion? Clemson, Florida State, North Carolina. So they don't, the big dogs in the ACC, the ones that have some sort of attraction from P2, they did not even want this to happen. So again, it's a bittersweet moment. Yes, the ACC generated more money because the ESPN had to pay pro rata for the 3 extra schools, and they're not taking their full cut. They're not taking anywhere near their full cut. So that has helped out the money total for Clemson to get $55 million, for example. But again, I think the ACC is a little bit in, well, they're in the crosshairs of the next SEC expansion. So anyways, before we get to Tristan, thank you so much, Tristan. I appreciate it. I appreciate your generosity. I got a couple of comments here. Greg, you do not understand. The conferences don't need a bargain. They just need a structure. I got another comment here saying, if you break away, why do you need a CBA? You make your own rules. Because if you listen to what's coming out of the SEC meetings tonight, they've been talking about socializing. They've been given a presentation about what it would take to bargain because they need cost certainty. Because they're getting bankrupt. Even the Southeastern Conference, they talked about it. Their basketball is not going to be a revenue maker anymore because there is no cost certainty. The cost of labor keeps going and skyrocketing. So collective bargaining is one way to have cost certainty, to match your revenues as you go on. A certain percentage goes to labor. A certain percentage keeps within the school, the athletic department of the conference so they can pay their bills, so they can grow. That's why. Anyways, Tristan, the floor is yours. Thanks for your patience, sir.
Oh, thanks for taking my call, Greg. I appreciate you coming on at this late hour with this news. This is great stuff. Listen, I wanted to comment. So I forget who it was, but someone posted a comment saying that that there wouldn't be a salary cap, and I think that that's incorrect. The whole reason that you have a collective bargaining agreement is so that, like, you're using the term cost certainty, but the only way you can minimize salary legally is through a collective bargaining agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the goal here, and this is from within the P2, okay, this perspective. From within the P2, the goal here is to set a salary cap, for lack of a better word, high enough that it'll shake loose the schools in the ACC, Notre Dame, North Carolina, whoever, to want to go into the P2, but then also set it low enough that the vast majority of schools within the P2 can compete at that number. Because, your Texas and your Ohio State, there's only a handful of schools that can really generate revenue to the same degree that those schools can. And, schools like LSU and Alabama, they can't generate that kind of revenue. They'll become irrelevant, right? So the majority of schools in the P2 want that number to be an attainable number for most of the P2. So they're going to set it low enough so that they'll be able to compete. That's the objective here.
It may not only be a cap, there may be a floor, right? You have to spend so much,
Yeah, and and the floor is a key element, right? And that's the floor, Greg, is the incentive for the players to go along with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The cap is for the owners, the floor is for the players.
Yeah.
Right. So there unquestionably will be some sort of salary cap, and I'm wondering, Greg, I know we have no answers, but I'm just going to put this thought out there. I'm wondering if they're going to set it up so that it's on like a per sport basis. Like you'll have a salary cap for men's basketball and then a salary cap for men's football, and then they can just go down the line and set a cap for each individual sport. And then what that would do is that would allow universities to decide, are we capable of competing in football, or do we want to focus on basketball? Maybe they put more money into the basketball than they would in football or something. I'm just kind of thinking out loud, but there's some, it's not just a one sport deal here. There's multiple sports being represented in all this.
Yeah, but they're going to have, in my opinion, they're going to have their own representation, though, right? So.
You mean that each individual sports is going to have their own players' union or something?
I think
like that?
so. I don't know why that. I don't know why that won't happen. I mean, I don't know why. I do not know why the SEC football players would want the same representation as the SEC basketball players. If you're going to truly represent them to the best of their, to their worth, you're not going to want to mix up the apples and the oranges when the oranges are not worth what the apples are.
Yeah, well, that's a good point that you bring up there. So that's probably going to be the case. But the ACC, Greg, there's a popular sentiment that I've seen in social media that the ACC is not going to survive this, but I'm not so sure that that's the case. The revenues that they're reporting now, I think it was Kenneth Maynard who posted a thing about that. It might turn out that ESPN keeps the ACC going, specifically to keep control over certain media rights over certain universities that they care about.
I agree. Yep. I don't see the ACC being completely destroyed. I agree with you.
Yeah, it just has to find a way to survive the inevitable departures that are coming.
Yep.
But yeah. So anyway, I just had to make a couple of comments as it relates to this. I appreciate you letting me call in, Greg.
You got it, buddy.
Yeah, you keep up the good work. I'll talk to you later.
I appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Beautiful.
Right, bye-bye.
Absolutely beautiful. Tristan. Thank you very much. Tristan, thank you for your patience, by the way. I appreciate it. I appreciate all the callers. I know sometimes they call in and I got to do something else for a little bit. I appreciate your patience.
Call from
Caden the Diesel Freak.
Caden the Diesel Freak is on the air. The floor is yours, sir. Thank you for calling. I appreciate it.
It's been too damn long, Greg.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has.
Damn long.
What do you got to say for yourself?
My spot, Greg, let me ask you the question. What's been going on?
Well, what's been going on is you Buckeyes are going to be very afraid to play us Golden Gophers in Indianapolis this December 7th or 8th or whenever that day is. That is what's going on, sir. Let's go.
In your dreams, Greg, because we'll be feasting on your carcasses in Indianapolis, and then we're going to barbecue you boys afterwards.
Got it.
And that's a fact.
Got it. What's on your mind, sir?
I think the SEC talks about that they want 24 teams, the ACC, the Big 12. As far as I'm concerned, if the ACC is demanding 24 teams, it's only because of a couple teams that are either terrible or they can't figure out their program's good, or they're terrible, or their program, or some of their programs are so full of crap. I can't tell either one. But that's just me being a Buckeye fan.
Yes.
Truth be told.
Yes.
But that's just me. As far as this season is concerned, if you're going to ask me, I'm not worried at all about our season as far as I'm concerned. Not one single second. I'm not even worried. And as far as I'm concerned, Ohio State bringing back the old school uniforms means two things are going to happen. One, everybody in college football is going to witness the greatest team return to the national championship and win the dang thing. And 2, bodies are going to be flying all over the dang place. And that's a fact. As far as them Gophers go, yeah, y'all are going to go on a one-way trip, all expenses paid, to my favorite city of all freaking time, Suplex City. And we're going to be throwing y'all carcasses around like a bunch of rag dolls, as far as I'm concerned.
All right. Well, look, I can't dispute much of what you said because I got the Buckeyes. I got the Buckeyes winning the national championship. Now, a lot of people in the PATC family are going to tell you, Caden, that because Greg the Gold has the Buckeyes winning it all, that means you don't have a chance to win it all. But I'm going to tell you, Caden, do not worry about it because Greg the Cooler is gone. Greg the Gold is here to stay. The Buckeyes are going to win the national championship. Go ahead, sir. Finish the call. Let me know what you think of that.
No, and you just said the exact damn point I was going to say. We're just going to handle business.
Yep.
Kick somebody's butt and win the national championship. Indiana, yeah, congratulations. You had your moments. But guess what? You guys are getting your butt kicked, and that's all I got to say about that. As far as them Gophers, keep your tails in the holes that you came from and let us do the dang work. Because y'all ain't worth a darn. You Gophers ain't worth a single cent.
You're scared. You're scared.
Does it sound like I'm scared, Greg?
Yes, it does. Yes,
fact?
It does.
Oh, and what I'm saying is a fact because them Gophers don't got the guts to come to Columbus. Because they know if they do, and they know it's happened plenty of times, all it is them getting barbecued every single daggone time. I mean, that's enough said.
All right.
Enough said.
Appreciate the call, sir. Love you, man. Call us again.
Go Bucks, go for sup, and yeah, we'll be feasting on your carcasses.
Got it. All right, sir. Thank you very much. He's scared, ladies and gentlemen. The Buckeye is scared. Now, they don't have us. Now, they whipped us last year. But we might be seeing them in Indianapolis. We might be seeing you Buckeyes. Gophers are scared. Wow. Wow, this guy's on your heels, Greg. Yeah, he's having fun. He gives me secondhand embarrassment, Jared Jones. All right, phone lines are open. I'm looking for more reports coming out of this SEC spring meetings. Again, Greg Sankey, they're ending the second to the last regular season game, cupcake game. Greg Sankey calls it the end of cupcake weekend. The SEC is getting rid of that in 2027. Texas Tech president is supporting the school appeal of the NCAA's decision to deny Brendan Sorsby the eligibility in wake of his gambling activities. So the president of Texas Tech is supporting the appeal for Brendan Sorsby. That's also breaking news today. Lane Kiffin said that the quarterback transfer, Sam Leavitt, ran 21 miles per hour on the GPS the other day as he recovers from his foot injury. I'm telling you guys, Sam Leavitt, I think the world of him. I think the world of his talent. That is why I got the LSU Tigers going to the SEC championship game under Lane Kiffin. If he's running 21 miles per hour, again, he showed his athletic ability. Go watch. Hey, any of you SEC people out there, if you are doubting Greg Greg the Gold. If you're doubting Greg the Gold's pick for the LSU Tigers to make it to the SEC championship game, just pop in the tape. Watch Texas and Arizona State in that playoff game a couple of years ago. Sam Leavitt did not have his top wide receiver, Jordan Tyson. The Arizona State Sun Devils had a great year. Congratulations to Kenny Dillingham and the great fan base and all that. But the offensive line was getting smacked around. Sam Leavitt was running for his life. Sam Leavitt was making plays left and right, running, escaping, running. He has the arm. He's an incredible athlete. If he's running 21 miles per hour on May 25th, May 26th, in that Lane Kiffin's offense and I think LSU is going to have a very good defense. We have not had LSU under the spotlight quite yet, but I got a feeling the LSU Tigers are going to be under the PATC spotlight real soon. So buckle up and brace for impact. LSU Tigers are going to be very, very dangerous in year one under Lane Kiffin. We've got a super chat from the legendary, the man, the myth, the legend, Ryan Willa. $5 holler. Ryan Willie, Wisconsin has a better chance of seeing Ohio State in Indianapolis than Minnesota. Only if you've got some basketball game lined up at a neutral site, Ryan Willie. That's the only chance that you have a better chance seeing the Buckeyes in December in Indianapolis, other than my Minnesota Golden Gophers.
From
Edward the Auburn Tiger.
Edward the Auburn Tiger, thank you for your phone call. I appreciate it. First of all, Ryan Willie, thank you for your $5 holler, your generosity. Very much appreciated. Before we get to Edward the Auburn Tiger, I do want to thank Evil Badger, Kenneth Meaner, and Ricky Tungate for your generosity, helping us keep the lights on and grow the channel. Thank you so very much. Edward the Auburn Tiger. We are in the SEC spring meetings. Kirby Smart is talking about how he's not afraid of a total breakaway. We've got Moorhead, the president of Georgia, saying it's anarchy. We're close to anarchy. We need to do something. And then you've got reports that the SEC is receiving presentations about what they should do if they go into collective bargaining. Edward the Auburn Tiger, what are your thoughts? Thank you for the phone call. The floor is yours.
Greg, I got two words for you. Holy smokes. This is just day one, Greg. Just day one. And man, it is like an explosion happening. And I can remember, several years ago, watching the SEC network. It was media days, and was coming across the air of Oklahoma and Texas joining the SEC. And I can remember looking at that and thinking, that cannot be real. And here we are so many years later. I mean, words like stratification line, words like, reimagine, realignment, just words that you never heard begin to surface. And you fast forward to where we are now, this is just really unprecedented times. And I think, I appreciate the job you do, Greg, and keeping us all informed and giving us that peek around the corner. And I really want to thank PATC family for making this show really a special place to just tune into. But the thing that kind of stood out to me, Greg, I mentioned in the link there is, the Georgia AD, he made a statement that, the SEC, he doesn't want it to fall behind anymore. And I just kind of took that like, this is DEFCON 0 here.
Yeah.
That it's going to be a major breakaway. I believe, obviously, I'm assuming that ESPN has got to be in these meetings. I'm sure all of this has been gamed out. Sure, sounds like the Big Ten, Fox is gaming out things. And it just seems like no matter what's happened, no matter what's been discussed, it's like this invisible hand has just been moving this slowly but surely forward to be where we are today. And what I'm seeing, Greg, and just tell me if I'm wrong, it's either extreme breakaway or bust. I mean, when you're talking bargain agreements, when you're talking, paying players in a unionized fashion, that's looking at like an extreme breakaway to me. And you're hearing the words of, like, say, the Georgia AD, hearing the words of Coach Kirby Smart, and no one's refuting this. There's no discord amongst the coaches that you're hearing. This is obviously day one, but it just seems like everybody's in lock and step as far as the conversation of where this is going. I don't see nothing stopping this train, Greg. I really don't. And just hearing you sound like you said you didn't say years. You said months. So, I mean, what are we looking at, Greg? This year, this time next year, a stream, silo taking place already. And then with that being said, I just don't see how a 2014 playoff could take place when you have extreme silo. I just don't see it. And I really do believe that ESPN is really maybe put their foot down. It's made a deal with ESPN, with SEC. I think they're going to bankroll them. I think they're going to give SEC all they want to prevent this and really do this reimagine SEC with the big realignment. So I know I've just said a lot, but I do want to hear your thoughts about what I just said.
You got it, buddy. I'll take it out. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Beautiful call by Edward the Auburn Tiger. Look, it is going to be, first of all, when it comes to the college football playoffs, it's going to be very difficult to separate from the College Football Playoff LLC. Even Greg Sankey says, there's a contract there. There's a commitment there. He also said that about the conference championship game. But again, that contract is a little bit more easier. It's between them and ESPN if they want to get away from that. But the College Football Playoff LLC, that's a whole nother kettle of fish. And I think that what the SEC and the Big Ten are hoping for is they can do a breakaway, set up their own rules and all that. But the college football playoffs is still going to exist. But who knows? I mean, that could all change in another year or two. We are on uncharted waters. But I think there is a possibility that everyone goes in the silo and still plays in the playoffs. But again, the SEC, if they're going to have rules and the Big Ten's going to have rules and they're not trusting the other conferences and the other conferences are not trusting them, it gets a lot more difficult, doesn't it? So it gets a lot more difficult. Unanswered questions. I mean, if you go into your extreme silos, can you even have a 12-team college football playoffs? If the SEC is going to have 9 conference games with no AQ, they might not get represented in the playoffs the way they think they should because they're going to have more losses. I don't know. Don't know where that's going. Don't know where that's going. It's uncharted waters. Now, the only thing that I've ever said when we talked about the breakaway in 2022, 2023, 2024, I said over and over again that the breakaway wasn't going to happen in 2025 or 2024. And the reason why I said that was because of what was going on with the House lawyers. Remember, I said that over and over and over and over and over again. But after that, everything was on the table. And the further we get out, like in 2030, 31, after this college football playoff contract is over, then it really becomes anything is possible. So we're at 2026. We are beyond the House case and the other two class action cases that were bundled up as one. And that's not even, we're not even, that settlement has been a cluster. Like, it has not worked. So now we're getting even closer to the breakaway. And the question remains, what is the final act to make the SEC pull the trigger? Are they waiting? What are they waiting on? Are they waiting on what the Cruz and Cantwell bill actually says? Are they going to wait until the middle of the football season when we're heading into the elections and we know nothing's going to happen? And when does exactly the SEC pull the trigger? It looks like they're spending a lot of time talking about things that they would have to develop and do within their silo. Rules, enforcement of rules, a possible collective bargaining. Right? So, yeah, that is a lot. We're heading down that direction. No question about it. Contracts are always vulnerable. But this is a contract written with a lot of different parties. G6, they're all supposed to get $1.8 million each for the next so many years. Big 12, ACC. Noah Berman says the SEC is waiting on the Big Ten to win another championship. Maybe the SEC is waiting to fall further behind to jump ship. Chris Brown, Marcus Williams, settle down, guys. I do not know what you guys are doing, but let's quit the personal attacks. Calm down, calm down, calm down. You can throw elbows when it talks about college football. War Damn Eagle, Don Scruggs, Rod Nix, great call, Edward. Let's try to get that political talk out of here. Helmer Hennison, $2 holla. We got a super chat. Helmer Hennison. Will Greg eat a cheeseburger if he doesn't win 50.01% of his games in 2026? Wow. Wow. You know, I went 92 and 94 last year. You PATC Einsteins went 92 and 94 last year. So we almost did it last year. Yes. Let's make it official. It's official. Thank you for the $2 holler, Helmer Hennison. If I do not win 50.01% of my picks against the spread during the regular season, no, let's make it all. Let's make it all the games. All the games. Conference championship games, playoffs, national championship. If I do not win 50.01% of the games for the next season, I will eat a cheeseburger live on this program for the second time. And I barely survived the first time. But again, I'm not going to worry about it because it's just no way. There is no way on God's green earth I'm going to finish below 50.01% of picks against the spread. I am matured. There is no more Greg the Cooler. Greg the Cooler is absolutely gone.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away. As you fade away.
Yeah, I'm about to fade away, cause every time I wake up I feel like it's Monday. Something's going wrong with all the chemicals up in my brain. All of a sudden I don't look at anything the same way. Gotta build up of my thoughts sitting in an ashtray. I'm sorry that I'm so inconvenient, okay. Just let me be me and I'll stay out of your way. I can see the way you look at me, I'm such a disgrace. I never really asked to be brought into this place. You wanna love me? Well then baby I have a taste. All the highs and the lows, no you'll never be the same. I don't really wanna hurt you but I can't control the pain. If you're sticking by my side maybe we could be okay. Okay, maybe you could be the change I need today. I promise that I've never felt this way. I really hope that you will choose to stay through all the pain.
I know.
Yep. So the bet, the deal's in. Thank you so much, Helmer Hennessy. Thank you very much.
Call from
Jose, fight on.
Jose is in the house. Jose, USC Trojan. Again, Jose is a victim. No, not a victim. Not a victim. Not a victim. Not a victim. He's the beneficiary, not the victim. Jose is the beneficiary of Greg the Gold saying it's a 10-star lock. It's an absolute guarantee that the U.S. Trojans are going to make the college football playoffs this year. Jose, thank you for your patience. The floor is yours.
Yes, I'm on that Dr. Pepper hype train. I'm riding along with you. Go for Godfather.
You got it, buddy.
We're going to the playoffs.
Let's go.
We're going to the playoffs. Let's do it.
Let's go.
Speaking of which, we had Miami take one of our four-star receivers, Eli Woodard. We had three receivers that we had locked up for the next recruiting class, and they took our slot receiver. It was kind of, well, I mean, they haven't even signed him yet, but Chad Bowden has this policy that I don't know if he had implemented this in Notre Dame when he was a GM there, but once you commit to USC, there's no more visits allowed. And if you do want to go visit, you rescind your commit, your NIL package, and you're basically done. You know, you're foregoing any opportunity to play at USC. But from what I heard last week, he visited Miami, and he's just weighing out his options. So just wishing him best of luck. If he, whatever reason, didn't say that USC was a good fit for him, Miami might get an excellent receiver there, and Eli Woodard.
Yep. Any talks? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no. That's
any
all.
more
Any
talks
regarding what now?
I'm any more talks within USC about the negotiations going on between the Irish and the Trojans in playing?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yep.
Yeah. 2030 is the target, and it's just odd that they picked that year. I don't know if it's necessarily something that the Irish already have with their scheduling, that they don't want to have to break any contracts. But 2030 is not 2031, not 2029, 2030. For whatever reason, that's the magic number of resuming. And it might not be annual, but at least, once every other year, sometimes maybe twice every 3 years. But it's just interesting that 2030 is that number. And I know that's when Notre Dame's contract is up currently with NBC. They had signed a 5-year extension.
Yes. Yep.
So it's wide open for them at that point. I think that Notre Dame could certainly gain a lot more leverage by having USC on their schedule if they go into talks again with NBC, if something else doesn't already happen. just in listening to a lot of the other Notre Dame channels, including Mr. John Kennedy, the great.
What did he say?
It was a few days ago, or maybe it was last week. He said that if the worst thing that can happen with all the uncertainty that's ongoing currently in college football, if they wind up in the Big Ten, there's a lot worse things that could have happened, especially for other teams that don't have the prestige, the history, the tradition of Notre Dame. He said that he has come to terms if the inevitable is that they have to join the Big Ten. He said he would just be depressed.
Yeah, I mean, I love John Kennedy. I think he is probably the most entertaining person out there. I love John Kennedy. I love Coach Coop, the Miami guy. There's so much great talent out there. I love John Kennedy. I love his shows. Yeah, I mean, if Notre Dame joined the Big Ten, now this is just my opinion, but and it's my opinion only, okay? But I mean, the football schedule is going to be more competitive, consistently more competitive. Some years their schedule is more competitive than a lot of Big Ten schedules, but consistently it's going to be more competitive. They're going to lose a little bit of their independence flavor, but Notre Dame is still going to be Notre Dame. I mean, Notre Dame is Notre Dame. Notre Dame they're going to make more money than ever before. Notre Dame is going to be just fine if they go to the Big Ten. The only reason, and I've said this, like people get it wrong, like just because I've been very aggressive in the fact that the walls are closing in on Notre Dame. I've also been consistent. I've said this forever. Notre Dame does not want to lose their football independence. They do not want to lose it. They're going to do everything they can. I just don't think they're going to be able to hold off on it because look what's going on, Jose. Look what's going on. Yeah. USC made a decision to join the Big Ten, and they're so far away. They had no idea. USC, now if they looking back on it, you know that the people at University of Southern California, for the most part, are like, yeah, I mean, obviously we had to do that, right? Obviously we had to do it. I mean, the way things are, obvious. But back then, it was like they knew what was coming down the track. A whole bunch of information got leaked to me. I was very fortunate. All that has turned out to be USC was absolutely correct. If you go back to our post during the spring of 2022 and in the summer, USC knew that the players are going to get paid more and more. They believed that the student athlete would get representation at some point. I put it all out there for 3 months. Everything that USC believed was going to happen is going to happen. So they had to make a decision for best for the university, even though they were going away from incredibly great partnerships that they've had in the Pac-12. They did what they had to do. Texas and Oklahoma did what they had to do. Notre Dame is not immune to everything that is going on, and there's more drastic changes coming up. How do you even do if the SEC and the Big Ten does a collective bargain? How does Notre Dame even do that? How does Notre Dame even do how do they even make up their own rules and enforce their own rules? I mean, everything is changing underneath the feet of Notre Dame. Go ahead, Jose. Sorry to butt in like that.
Yeah. No, it's with the whether it's 24 team or not playoff. The consensus is they'll be okay. They'll always have playoff access. They did bring up the Olympic sports, that the ACC is no longer the place for them, and they're exploring other options. As far as the football is concerned, one speculation is that possibly Notre Dame and USC are trying to lock in some kind of neutral field contracting before the next Big Ten contract comes up, and they at least have that game locked away. That maybe they, Amazon, whoever might shop around independently.
We got
or
breaking
maybe
news, Jose.
Yes.
We got breaking news.
Let's hear it.
I apologize. Stay on the line. I've done this to you before, by the way, haven't I? Huh?
And I've enjoyed it every time.
I do apologize, sir. Everybody pay attention. We have got big breaking news. Ross Dellinger, Yahoo Sports, has just reported Senator Maria Cantwell and Ted Cruz are expected this week to release a landmark bipartisanship bill to regulate college sports. Through the legislation is not finalized, sources tell Yahoo Sports. It would grant the NCAA a narrow antitrust exemption over transfers and eligibility. That is now and somebody else. Hold on, everybody. Hold on, Jose. Hold on. Somebody is reporting. ESPN Dan Murphy is reporting that the Cruz and Cantwell legislation on college sports is imminent. It's happening this week. Ladies and gentlemen, when this happens, when this happens, we are going to be coming on live and breaking it all down. Now, Pete Thamel, Jared Jones, Pete Thamel is expected to be tomorrow. This is supposed to be released tomorrow. Holy smokes. I'm telling you, Jose, I'm telling you right now. There's a lot here that everyone's going to agree upon, right? But if there's any part of this bill that takes any, I know people don't want to hear this, but if there's any part of this bill that takes any more sovereignty away from the Big Ten and the SEC, the Big Ten and the SEC are not going to go with it. But this is the last hope, the last straw, the last gasp of preventing a breakaway from the SEC and the Big Ten. This is it. We're going to see the bill tomorrow. What are your thoughts?
Well, I don't know who had said on X earlier this week that don't expect anything big or any news to come out of Destin, Florida with the SEC meetings this week.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be the complete opposite. I think by Friday they might have to pull the trigger and start moving forward with a silo. I don't see that bill protecting the sovereignty of conferences if Cantwell is involved. That's just a radical approach into resolving this, and I don't even know how Cruz would go along with it. But if that's the only way they can get something passed,
oh boy!
I don't see,
hold on. Jose,
ahead.
hold on. I apologize. You can yell at me later. Hold on. I can't find my... Oh, here we go. Hold on. Breaking news. Hold on. Cody Campbell just released a statement as a senior member of the President's Roundtable on Fixing College Sports, which has been working with many senators, House members, and other key stakeholders. We are encouraged that the release of the comprehensive legislation could be imminent. Senators Cantwell and Ted Cruz should be greatly applauded for the bipartisan effort in working to solve a very complex and extensive set of problems. We look forward to continue to work and pushing this across the finish line and preserving a great American treasure. Cody Campbell is in support of this bill. I don't know what that does to the chances of the Big Ten and the SEC supporting it. Go ahead, sir. The floor is yours, Jose.
Oh, Lord. If Comrade Cody is supporting it, then I'm going to give it a 99.9% chance that Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti are not going to be in favor of it. That's the chalk right there. So I think by Friday we're going to hear something come out of those meetings in Destin, Florida, about moving forward, starting to implement the wheels in motion for a silo breakaway, because they cannot put up with whatever Congress is going to propose upon the SEC. They're not going to be told what to do, period.
And the length of time that it will still take for it to happen, I think that is a major problem. I mean, right now, the Big Ten and the SEC are so upset with all this money being hung up by the College Sports Commission. So none of this would help them out right now. But yeah, I would agree, sir. I would agree.
Yeah, they already have enough to deal with, and this is just another, they already have enough on their plate. They don't need this getting lumped on there.
I will say this, Jose, before I let you go. All right? I'll say this. And I'm going to get in trouble with a lot of people. This is probably, if I had to guess, if I had to put my chips in the middle of the table, I would guess that this is probably going to cause more of a gap between the ACC and the Big 12 versus the Big 10 and the SEC. Because remember, the Big 12 and the ACC have already written their names on the dotted line that they support this bill before they saw the final part of it. If this comes out and the Big Ten and the SEC says, nope, this doesn't work for us, brother, this could cause a chasm bigger and larger than we've ever seen before. Jose, I'll give you the final word on it.
And the final word is the Big Ten has an insider advantage with Cody Campbell. He's rubbing elbows with the people that are writing and are going to be signing this bill. The ACC has nobody but Jim Phillips. Let that sink in.
All right.
There you go for Godfather. Fight on.
You got it. Appreciate it, sir. Fight on, USC. I'm looking at reports here. A lot of breaking news all over the place tonight. Hold on. Wow. A lot of breaking news. My goodness. I do want to thank, before we get to some more comments here. Big Gun Shop. Big Gun Shop. We do have, hold on. Hold on, everybody. Big Gun Shop, we do have an I Do Declare. An I Do Declare by the Big Gun Shop, ladies and gentlemen. The 68th prediction has come in the I Do Declare competition. $2 holler super chat. Thank you, Big Gun Shop. I do declare Georgia wins the national championship this year. That is going to be a 1 or a 2 point valuation. And that is going to be our 68th. Auburn finishes with a losing season, was our last prediction by Heartbreak 25. And now Big Gun Shop is on the board with prediction number 68. All right, Big Gun Shop. I'm going to get that booked in. We'll have it on the update tomorrow. Thank you so much. Again, all proceeds for the I Do Declare competition goes to the Special Olympics of Minnesota. You put a prediction in with the Super Chat. We book it in. If you get that prediction right, you get the points that I put a valuation on it from 1 to 5. I am the judge. I am the jury on what valuation each bold prediction receives. 1 means it's more of a chalk. Not quite the chalk, but more of a chalk. 1 point means there's a better chance of you getting it right. If you get it right, you get a point. If you get it wrong, you get minus a point. 2 points, 3 points, 4 points, 5 points, a valuation of 1 through 5 with every one of your prediction. You can make a bold prediction. If you get it right, you get the 5 points. If you get it wrong, it's minus 5 points. The highest point total at the end of the national championship game becomes the I Do Declare world champion of college football predictions.
Call from
Movie Time Blues.
Movie Time Blues is on the line. The floor is yours. Hold up 1 second, Movie Time Blues, if you don't mind.
Sure. Okay.
I do appreciate it. Big Gun Shop, thank you for your generosity. Thank you so very much for the $2 holler. You are officially in once again. The 68th prediction overall. Go ahead, Movie Time Blues. The floor is yours.
I've been trying to look at the whole silo thing from an antitrust standpoint. Isn't it true that the NCAA has market power according to the antitrust lawsuit?
Yeah. Yep. And this Maria Cantwell, Ted Cruz supposedly would give the NCAA a narrow antitrust exemption, according to the reports that have come out tonight. Sorry for the interruption, Movie Time Blues. Go ahead.
So if by any chance the SEC and the Big Ten go onto their silos, wouldn't that essentially break up the NCAA? Because they are members of the NCAA. So basically, if these two entities break off, you're basically having 2-3 different NCAAs, and then the antitrust issue may not be as pertinent. If not, I'm not a legal expert, but that's what I'm thinking.
I see what you're saying. You're saying if the Big Ten and the SEC break away, the NCAA in itself is not market power, right?
It's possible, but I'm not sure.
I don't know either. That's a very good question, though. Yeah.
So, but it may have to be extreme silos in order to create that reality. I'm just I'm guessing here, but if especially now that the Big Ten has been winning in all these Olympic sports, so they could argue that they are not, that if they were to break away, then there are all these other conferences that remain in the NCAA, and then they'll be competing against the NCAA. If I understand me correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the working assumption that I have.
Yeah, uncharted waters, my friend. Uncharted waters. I don't know the ripple effect. Now, I would assume if the SEC truly breaks away and creates their own rules, govern their own rules, and the Big Ten does it, I would assume, I could be wrong, but I would assume the Big 12 and the ACC would follow up and do the same thing. I could be wrong, but we'll see.
All right, I'll talk to you later.
All right, I appreciate it. Appreciate it, Movie Time Blues. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Beautiful call. Long time caller, PATC family member, Movie Time Blues.
from?
Rock and Rant.
Rock and Rant. I was just gonna read your comment here. Here's the question, Rock and Rant. Here's the question: if the SEC is not in favor of this bill, then who is Ted Cruz advocating for? Texas and Texas A&M, or every other Texas university in the Big 12, ACC, and G6? If Washington and the Big 10 doesn't agree with the bill, Maria Cantwell, is she advocating for the University of Washington or Washington State? I think more Washington State. Isn't she an alum there?
I also think she was a former athlete too.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
If
yeah.
I'm not mistaken. So she might be coming from that perspective, but she could also be coming from the general athlete perspective, and less about the institution. But it might be, what happened at Washington State. Maybe she's like, Washington's fine. I got to worry about the guy who got left out. Who's the Pac-12 guy in Florida who got left behind. But the Cruz one is just the one that's interesting, right? Because we all know. I mean, I'm not from Texas, but we all know that as much money as there might be in Cody Campbell's hands and his path, and as much as Ted Cruz likes to, plays what he needs to do politically, without me going into detail, we kind of all know that Texas and Texas A&M run the state at the highest levels, right? So it's just interesting. If the SEC is fundamentally opposed, you would think that Ted Cruz would know that and be trying to get things that would make the SEC interested and not,
I'm sure,
not ignoring the letter that everybody else sent. Now, maybe they're just the only ones smart enough to not agree to something that they haven't fully read.
Yeah.
So I find this part of it interesting because in theory you would think Ted Cruz would be trying to make sure that Texas and Texas A&M are happy, but obviously he's got Tech and SMU and Baylor and TCU and on, as Texas State, all the other ones too.
And who knows? Maybe Cantwell and Cruz found the. Maybe they were able to thread the needle, right? Maybe it's going to be a success. Maybe it comes out. I'm not talking about the bill itself. I'm talking about the political process of it. Maybe the bill can get enough senators, Democratic senators, to vote on it, get enough. But again, we're heading towards election. The SEC and the Big Ten are going down this process, and they've been doing it for a while. This would be a miracle shot if this bill actually caused the SEC and the Big Ten to pause, and they might come out and actually support it. All that would be a miracle at this point. Wouldn't you agree, Rock and Rant?
Yeah, but then look, today's the day of miracles. We no longer have SEC Cupcake Weekend.
Yeah. You're right.
So,
you're right.
Maybe there's positivity. Whenever I'm against these things, I'm just don't believe things are going to pass. Versus I want there to be continued chaos or anything like that, or for people to get hurt. I just, without seeing the full legislation, it's hard to know how are they getting around things like the Supreme Court has already ruled on about things like player movement and what have you, and restricting that kind of stuff. It's one thing if there's contracts, but a broader thing that they're talking about transfers and stuff like that. Well, sure, if you have a contract, great, but if you're a lesser, if you're a player without as much juice and big NIL dreams, how can they do that based off of previous court rulings? I'd be curious to see what they do. I mean, granted, it's new legislation, but then if they rule the other parts were unconstitutional, would that part be rendered? It's interesting. Yeah, definitely the whole SEC stuff this week. It sounds like it's all coming to a head. There was one other thing. Did you hear, getting back onto the on the field / off the field stuff? Did you hear Lane Kiffin's comments about what happened with Ole Miss and what would have happened had he not left against playing?
I think he said that Ole Miss would have been playing in the championship game if he was still the head coach and Golden was up in the box.
Yeah, so I just had a question. When Lane was the coach of said LSU, did Lane beat Georgia last year?
No.
When Lane was no longer the coach of LSU, did Ole Miss beat Georgia?
Yes.
If I had a mic, I would drop it right now.
Yeah. Look, I think Lane is I think he's an awfully quirky guy. I think sometimes he doesn't know how to say things. I don't know, man. I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm trying to give him some grace. He has a maturity level that isn't all that high, an emotional security level. I think he's a hell of a coach. I think there's there's probably a whole lot of nice qualities about him as well. There are times that I find myself rooting for him, like a redemption tour type of deal over the last few years.
He had those moments for sure. He just seemed to decide to scorch it.
And then there's some times where he's just back to Lane Kiffin. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, the SEC is never boring, right?
No.
It sometimes feels like it's the real head coaches of Atlanta or whatever, the Southeast, but it's definitely never boring. So,
I think they're going to be a hell of a team this year, though. I mean, I do not have them in the Ohio State, Texas, Notre Dame, Miami quad. I think those 4 teams, I think if they play up to I think those 4 are separate from everybody else. I think they're separate from Georgia. But I think LSU. I'm a big fan of Sam Levitt, and it sounds like he's healthy, running 21 miles per hour. Recovering from that injury. I think LSU is going to be a major player in the Southeastern Conference this year.
Yeah, I've got nothing against LSU. I mean, Lane's doing what Lane does, but you would think that they would with what the talent they acquired. I'm a little bit surprised actually that in some of the way too early or post spring polls, they're certainly up there, but they're not consensus top 12 overall. Like, I'm surprised that they're not based off of both Lane now being the coach and replacing Brian Kelly, which they needed to do, plus having Sam Levitt. I mean, maybe it's all just because people were not sure if Sam Levitt was there, but the talent acquisition they did from the offensive line to whatever, I just thought they would have been, a fairly chalk pick in most people to be top 4 or 5 in the SEC, and therefore top 10 or 12 in the college football playoff. I mean, nothing's happened on the field yet, but I thought that was a little bit surprising. Maybe it all revolves around Levitt, but anyway, just wanted to give a quick shout out. Great show, man.
You got it, buddy. Appreciate it. Rock and Rant does a beautiful job. College Football Mafia got his own show, Miami Hurricanes show. Go check him out. Rock and Rant does a tremendous job. All right, we've been on the air for 2 hours and 7 minutes. Holy smokes. I do want to thank once again a big show tonight. My goodness. Big show. I want to thank Ricky Tungate, massive super chat. Appreciate it, Kenneth Maynard, for all you do, all your generosity. Very, very much, very humbled by your help. Appreciate it. Eva Badger, the man, the myth, the legend. Big Gun Shop, we do have your I Do Declare all booked in. Helmer Hennison, it's all locked in, sir. It is all locked in. Greg the Gold is going to have more than a 50.01% win against the spread. And if I do not, I will eat a cheeseburger live on this show. I do want to thank the great calls we received, the great comments in the chat room. I appreciate it. Again, we're going to have another big show again tomorrow. We did cover the Cody Campbell comment. I do not know how that is going to go down in Big Ten SEC country. Supposedly, this Cantwell Cruz bill is going to be released imminently, and we are going to cover it when it comes live. If I'm home, if I'm in the studio, I'm going to jump in here. We're going to turn the lights on. We're going to get the studio rocking and rolling when the Cruz and Cantwell bill is released, and it could be tomorrow. We're going to come on live with a big old show. So join us. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you liked our content today. It helps us so much with the algorithm at YouTube. And share the video with your friends and family. And make sure you ring that notification bell because we're going to come on live tomorrow. I cannot promise you a Rose Garden. I cannot promise you a starting time. but we are most definitely going to be covering the Maria Cantwell, Ted Cruz bill. It's the last hope. It's the last gap to stop the breakaway of the SEC in the Big Ten. Buckle up, brace for impact. Until next time, from all of us at College Football's Peek Around the Corner to all of you, please, y'all take great care of each other. And as always, God, family,